So, Leicester Tigers 26, Northampton Saints 17. How good was that? How good and how needed as well against our nearest and dearest to get a win in an East Midlands derby. Just so needed, and what this can do for the group. Hopefully, this can really push us on and almost properly start our season now. But yeah, to get the win against an informed Northampton side, and if I'm being brutally honest, we look comfortable. I never thought we looked like we were going to lose that game, really. I think Northampton weren't quite at it, but I don't think we allowed them to play the style of play they want to play. Our defence was so much better than it has been recently. The internationals all stood up. It was just, absolutely brilliant victory in front of, was it 23,000 plus? Atmosphere was proper electric at times. Just nothing beats an East Midlands derby win, does it? Get into the game. Started well, finally. Obviously, recently we've not started well in games. Obviously, Harlequin scored, was it after 4 minutes last week? But we got the first points of the game. Furbank knocking on and they being caught offside. Pollard sliding it over. And I think maybe it was a game plan already, but we obviously saw that mistake in the backfield and we really targeted their backfield, back three with kicks from Pollard, who had a brilliant game. It looked like it was an outstanding start. What was it, a few minutes later when Claire went over, sadly he was pulled back from the TMO cutter, obstructing the Saints player. But just before that kick from Pollard, that is one of the best ever touch finders from a penalty I think I've ever seen. Just showed his class yet again. Was it quite far inside our own half, and to put it on the 5 metre line, just a world class player. Yeah, shame it didn't come to the try. Unfortunately, it was pulled back, but soon after, on the 20th minute, the Saints got their first points of the game through Smith. But as I already said, we looked pretty comfortable. Our defence was just so much better. They just weren't getting any change from their attack. 23 minutes, the scrum started to get dominant, and Hayes won a penalty. Pollard knocked over the three straight from the kickoff. Sorry, a bit of contention. Obviously Jasper Visa running hard as he always does, but Langdon catching him maybe slightly high. The TMO said it wasn't any contact with the head. I saw a lot on Twitter calling for yellow, red cards. At the time I thought it was probably a yellow, but unpopular opinion, I think the TMO has made the right call there. I watched it back as slowly as they did on the TV, and it was close. But I think it might have just been shoulder on shoulder. Maybe it was just a penalty, but I think it was actually the right call. So fair play to the refs. I think personally that was the right call, but it made Jasper angry, didn't he? That carry afterwards. I don't think any number 8 in the Premiership can do what he did. To knock off Pearson and Ludlam, just two brilliant defensive players, just at the same time, that carry was just moment of the game. Probably for me the second best moment of the season so far after that Shilcock handoff. Just what a player. I really hope we can keep hold of him. I joked that maybe we start a GoFundMe to give him a bit more cash to persuade him to stay with us. But yeah, we need to keep him. And from that carry, Pollard kicked upfield, and then that man Tommy won a turnover. May have been his first of the game. He obviously went on to win quite a few more, but Pollard slid it over. Looked like we were going to extend the lead a bit further just before half time. Another scrum penalty won by Hayes, but sadly Pollard just hit the post. But yeah, 9-3 at half time, and I felt pretty comfortable. I thought Northampton didn't show too much. I thought our defence was a lot better. We were really pushing them up front. Just completely bossing them, really. And yeah, 9-3 at half time. I thought we probably deserved a bit more than that. Obviously expected a response from Saints in the second half, but we got the first points of the half. Pollard again off the tee, and I think it was maybe 5 minutes later or so, I think it was the moment of the game, the moment that won us the game, really. They had, I don't know how many phases they went through inside our own 22. Got to be 15 plus phases, and they just weren't getting anywhere. Absolutely nowhere. They were going out to one-out runners, which is not their game at all. and our defence just keep knocking them back. I especially noticed Guy Porter in that phase. He's really coming out the line well, stopping them from getting to the wings. That was an absolute massive moment in the game for me. And then a few minutes later, we get up the other end and we score our first try of the game. It came from first of all, Matavesi got sin-binned. He was quite a cynical play close to the line when we looked like we were going to score, and then got a few scrum penalties before that. I think Dan Cole came on. That was such a power move, wasn't it, from McKellar? Near the line, a lot of scrums, and he comes on and we eventually, I think we won 3 penalties. We eventually scored from Van Veek. And then fair play to the ref. Not often after you score a try do they actually go back to a sin bin, so fair play to Dixon. Obviously gets quite a lot of hate throughout the Premiership clubs, but yeah, he sin-binned their Waller, who came off the bench just a few minutes earlier. And so they were down to 13, and I thought 15 against 13, maybe we could go on and score a few more tries quickly, but we probably placed the worst 10 minutes of the game when they were down to 13. Straight from kick-off, Visa threw the ball out of play. I think was it a knock-on? Was it? And then, threw the ball out of play, penalised. They went to the corner, and after a few phases, Furbank went over, which was just very annoying. And I think we just tried to play, maybe not play too much, but we were just a bit frantic throughout those 10 minutes. I think there was a moment where there was a 4-on-1 and Porter decided to take contact. That was obviously a very silly decision. We just, weren't quite at it, but I think once they actually got down to 15, we calmed down a bit. And then on the 74th minute, Hanro went over for another try. Good bit of play, spotting that they weren't fully awake, and went for the tap and go and went over. And that obviously sealed victory. Bit annoying that they got the last try to make the scores a bit closer. It was absolutely brilliant try, to be fair. Fair play to Northampton. Showed what a good attacking team they are. Matavesi going over. To finish it, Tigers 26, Saints 17. Just, so pleasing. We really, really needed that. And as I said, those last 5-10 minutes, it showed that Saints can play and are just absolutely brilliant ball in hand. But for large portions of that game, we kept them really, really quiet. I think they were a bit off. Obviously, knocked on quite a bit in the backfield. The few passes just weren't quite as crisp as you'd expect from a Saints backline, but I think we made it really tough for them. I think up front we just really bossed their pack. The aggression, the intensity was just through the roof compared to the last few games. We just looked completely up for it, and Saints obviously just struggled with the intensity of it. And also another part was how many penalties they conceded. I think got here 20 penalties they conceded. You don't win many games with that. As I said, the scrum, we got quite dominant in that when multiple penalties. Hayes really got the nudge over Waller there, but the breakdown was the key part of the game. I think we really targeted it. Obviously Tommy, we all expect that, but fair play, Jasper Visa really got his head stuck in. Not really used to him being a breakdown threat. Hanro, they all really got stuck into the breakdown and stopped the Saints from playing. We all know that Mitchell is a real focal point for their attack, and we just didn't give them any good ball to play with. So that was just, from last week, we obviously missed that breakdown threat, and I think going forward, if Tommy's not playing, you've got to have Ilioni. You just need to have a breakdown threat in the current state of the game. But there was a few negatives. I think the attack again, it was a little bit better in parts, but I think still just with the players that we have in a back line, it's quite disappointing how almost lacklustre we can look ball in hand. Didn't matter too much today, but just a bit disappointing that our attack still looks quite a way off. Hopefully, as these players play more together, that obviously builds. But it's one area that we really need to build on. But today was all about the win for me. Didn't matter how many points we beat them by, didn't matter what score it was. 3-0, I'd have been absolutely buzzing. We just needed to win today, or else I think top 4 was gone. Now we can build on this performance, build on this win. I think it'll do loads of good to the group. And then hopefully, obviously, pick up a few more wins over the next few games. Standouts, I think 1 to 23, they all pretty much stood up, especially the internationals. But For me, I thought Ollie Chesham was absolutely phenomenal. That back-to-back charge downs in the first half for Mitchell, just, yeah, it's brilliant to see. Not often that happens. Stole a couple of line-outs, and it was just, yeah, an absolute menace around the park. He had a very, very good game, back to his best after, I think, last week he was pretty quiet. Jasper Wiese, to fair to Saints, they tackled him pretty well. Really targeted the ball, it seems, and man-marked him, but he still made some really big carries, and just, as I said, it had a real breakdown threat that I hadn't seen before. And that carry was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, just please, can we keep him for a good few more years? Andre Pollard, just who's classed, and he could have been player of the match, to be honest. Just brilliant off the tee. Some of his kicks to touch were just absolutely unbelievable, like George Ford-esque. Obviously kicked the one on the full, but I don't mind that. I would much rather him go for broke than always kick to the 22. Kicked well, took the ball to the line. He was just, world class, if not the best fly off in the world on current form. But player of the match has got to be Tommy Reffell. How much did we miss him last week? I think if he'd played, we'd have probably got the win against Quins. He was just absolutely phenomenal. I've got his stats here: 7 carries, 31 metres gained, 21 tackles, and 4 turnovers. Speaks for themselves, really, doesn't he? I think he's really building into an all-round 7. We always knew that his defence and his breakdown threat was brilliant, but he's really added to his carrying game. I think he's bulked up over his time in the Wales camp, and he looks like a good carrier. But the breakdown was just phenomenal. 4 turnovers, all really important. And in the pre-match, I said the key head-to-head would be him against Pearson. Well, Pearson went off after 50 minutes. I think that tells the story there. He was night and day the best player on the pitch. He was just, Tommy Reffell, just what a player, what a man. He was definitely player of the match for me. Just quick shout out to Archie Vane's debut. Premiership debut rather. It's always good to have academy players come in and make their Prem debuts. Obviously it was tough for him last week to spend the whole time on the bench, but I thought he was good when he came on. I'm sure he'll get many more appearances in the Premiership over the next few years. Just a much needed win. Hopefully build some momentum now. Obviously got Gloucester next week, a place that we actually have a pretty good recent record. I think we've won the last 3, so hopefully we can push on and get another victory next week, and things start to look a little bit more positive after all the negativity we've had for the last month or so. And obviously going to be great to compete for the Slater Cup again. Buzzing to be there next week. So absolutely brilliant win. Nothing beats an East Midlands derby win. We can all rub it into the Saints fans over the next few months. On to Gloucester next week.